Hello, 7th grade. How are you today? We finished in previous videos talking about polar bears and we started talking about sea otters. So in our lesson today, we are going to complete the rest of information about sea otters. So be ready. So, in our lesson today, students should be able to read the text of sea otters, recognize the meanings of the new words, and recognize some information about sea otters. In a previous lesson, we talked about sea otters. What do we mean about sea otters? Yes, they are the smallest sea mammal in the world. What can you see in the picture? This is a sea otter, and this is a smallest sea mammal in the world. من أصغر الثدييات البحرية في العالم. Mammal means ثدييات. Where do they live? Yes, they live in the North Pacific Ocean, and they were hunted and killed for their fur. يصطادوا ويقتلوا بسبب what? For their fur, thick fur, as we said in a previous lesson. Let's complete reading the paragraphs of sea otters. Sea otters live near rocky coasts of the North Pacific and they stay about 1 kilometer from the shore. They don't have dens on land and they can spend their entire lives in water. So, بيعيشوا in the water, not on dens on land, okay? They sleep on the sea and eat there too. بيناموا وبياكلوا وبيعيشوا in water. So the questions about this short paragraph: do they have dens on land? According to this paragraph, yes, they don't have dens on land. Because we talked that dens is the place where the polar bears live. Number 2, where they spend their lives, where? In water. So they sleep and eat on the sea. So the next paragraph: the sea otter has thicker fur than any other animal. إذن الفرو with sea otter أكثر سماكة than any other animal. The outer fur, الفرو الخارجي, is waterproof. The soft fur underneath stays dry and protects the otter from the cold water. So they have soft fur, and this fur underneath بالأسفل stays dry and protects the otter from the cold water. This is the features of soft fur. Otters are between 1 meter and 1.5 meter long and weigh from 20 kilograms to 40 kilograms. The females are smaller than the males. The females of sea otters are smaller than the male. The otter's back feet, now we are talking about their feet. Back feet are fully webbed and they can swim well under water. What are the features of otter's soft fur? What are the features? As we said, yes, its soft fur stays dry and protects بتحميهم from cold water. The otters can swim well underwater. Explain why. Because they have what? Fully webbed feet. Excellent. Yes, because their feet are fully webbed. Let's complete. Sea otters dive to find food. تغوص. Why? To find food. The sea otters, have long whiskers that help them to find their prey in the dark water. So, the long whiskers help them why? To find their prey, الفريسة, in dark water. They can lift boulders on the sea floor. تقدر تصعد boulders on the sea floor and search for sea creatures underneath them. So why they lift boulders on the sea floor? Yes, to find or to search for sea creatures underneath them. They eat, what do they eat? Snails, crabs, and shellfish. They use stones as small tools. بيستخدموا الحجارة as small tools. What do they do with stones? They hit the shellfish with the stone to get them off the rocks. Why they dive? They dive to find food. What is the thing that helps them to find their prey in dark water? Yes, excellent. Their long whiskers. Mention 3 creatures that the sea otter eat. What do they eat? They eat 3 creatures. مخلوقات, yes. In the sea, number 1, snails, we have crabs and shellfish. And we said they use stones to hit the shellfish with them to get them off the rocks. Okay? In this paragraph, we are going to talk about how the sea otters sleep. Look at the picture. What can you see? Yes, group of sea otters, and they are sleeping. How do they sleep? Let's read. Sea otters often sleep at sea in large groups of 10 to 100. They float on their backs and hold each other's paws to make a raft and keep the group together. So, how do they sleep or how do they float? They float in their backs as we see here, and holds بيمسكوا others' paws أقدام بعض to make a raft and keep the group together. In this section of paragraphs, we are going to talk about the young of sea otters and what is the biggest threat to sea otters. So let's read it. Otter pups are born at sea. The mother floats on her back with her newborn pup on her chest. A young pup's fur has so much air in it that it pops safely on the surface like a plastic ball and is safe from drowning. The biggest threat to sea otters is oil spills. If a sea otter is covered in oil, إذا تغطى بالoil, oil spill, its fur can't keep it warm and it dies of cold. ما بتخليها دافية وبتموت من البرد. Thousands died in 1989 when an oil tanker spilled 40 million liters of oil onto the sea. So, where are the otter pups born? Yes, at sea. Describe the pup's fur. It has what? Yes, so much air. And what are the features of their fur that has so much air? Yes, it pops safely on the surface like plastic ball and is safe from drowning. تحميهم من الغرق. The last question, what is the biggest threat to sea otter? As we said, this is the oil spill, and we talked about an example of the oil spill when an oil tanker spilled 14 million liters of oil onto the sea otters died. In previous paragraphs, we talked about an accident that happened in 1989 when the oil spilled on the sea. So, in this note, we have an information that talked about the future of sea otter. Let's read it. Next year, more oil fields are opening in the North Pacific region. More ships will carry oil across the sea, so there is a greater chance that another accident will happen. So they predict that another great accident will happen on the sea. So the future of the sea otter is not guaranteed, not secured. So the sea otter are in danger. That's it for today. In the next videos, we're going to answer the questions on your student's book and workbook, so please be ready.